When you think about building real wealth, what's the first number that pops into your head? $1 million, right? Maybe a solid six figures? Well, in this explainer, we're going to talk about why the first real milestone of wealth, the one that actually changes everything, isn't some huge, intimidating number. Nope, it's much smaller and way more powerful than you think. You ever feel like you're trying to build savings, but it's like pushing a giant boulder up a really steep hill? You're sweating, you're straining, you're giving it everything you've got, and the needle just barely moves. Yeah, you're not alone. That feeling is something most of us know way too well. We're all taught to aim for that magic number, becoming a millionaire. It's the benchmark for success we see everywhere. But let's be honest, it feels so impossibly far away that it's almost more discouraging than it is motivating. But what if I told you the real turning point, the number that actually separates the struggle of living paycheck to paycheck from the momentum of building real wealth, is the first $20,000? That's the number. That's the milestone that truly changes the game. All right, let's get into it. Part 1, the financial uphill battle. So why does it feel so impossible at the beginning? Let's break down what's really working against you when you're starting from scratch. So when you have zero savings, your brain kicks into what psychologists call survival mode. And look, it's not that you're bad with money, it's that your brain's bandwidth is just full. It's totally consumed by immediate threats. How am I going to pay rent? What if the car breaks down this week? You literally can't even think about long-term goals because, metaphorically, your house is on fire right now. Okay, now for the good part. Part 2, the $20,000 turning point. Because there is a point where all that struggle pays off and the momentum finally and beautifully shifts in your favor. $20,000. This is the magic number. This is where that financial boulder you've been pushing finally reaches the crest of the hill. Everything before this point feels like you're fighting gravity itself. But once you hit this number, gravity finally starts working for you. The magic of $20,000 isn't just one thing. It's a powerful 1-2 punch. First, you get this huge psychological shift. Your brain finally clicks out of short-term survival mode and into long-term growth mode. And second, a mathematical shift starts to happen. Your money finally starts doing the heavy lifting for you. And this is where it gets really cool. The power of compounding. Where your money makes money and then that money starts making its own money. So let's say you save $1,000 a month. Getting to that first $20K takes about 19 months. It's a grind, for sure. But the second $20K, that only takes 17 months. Because your first 20 grand is already working for you. Now fast forward to when you have 400K saved up. Earning another 20K takes just 5 months. See? The first step is by far the hardest, and every single step after that just gets easier and faster. Okay, part 3, your brain on savings. Because hitting this number does something really profound inside your head. It literally rewires your focus away from scarcity and fear and toward abundance and opportunity. And this isn't just a warm, fuzzy feeling. We've got the data to prove it. Research from Vanguard shows that just having $2,000 in savings boosts your sense of financial well-being by 21%. That's huge. But when you get that number up to around $20,000, which for most people is a solid 3 to 6 month emergency fund, your well-being jumps by a massive 34%. You've finally created some breathing room. Saving this money is about so much more than just the number in your bank account. It's about building proof to yourself. To save $20,000, you had to track your spending. You had to learn to delay gratification. You had to stay disciplined. In that process, you didn't just pile up cash, you fundamentally changed your own identity. You proved to yourself that you are a person who controls their money, not the other way around. And with that new identity, it comes with a whole new perspective. Before, an unexpected car repair was a complete disaster. Now, it's just an annoyance. A rent hike was a terrifying threat. Now, it's a reason to negotiate or maybe look for a better place. You can finally start to see the opportunities that were totally invisible before. A friend's business idea, a dip in the stock market, a career-changing conference, all the things you couldn't even think about when you were trapped in survival mode. So let's move on to part 4, the walking away money effect. Because this new perspective has a massive, powerful effect on your career, especially when you're no longer totally dependent on that next paycheck. This is what people call walking away money. Now, this isn't retire tomorrow money, okay? But it is, I don't have to put up with this nonsense money. It's a safety net that completely flips the power dynamic between you and your employer. You're no longer coming to the table from a position of desperation. You're in control. And just look at the career superpowers this unlocks. You can finally ask for the raise you actually deserve, because the worst they can say is no. You can push back on that project they want you to do over the weekend. You start to carry yourself with more confidence, which, guess what, attracts better assignments and more recognition. Just having the money in the bank, even if you never ever touch it, changes everything about how you show up at work. So, you've hit the milestone, you've rewired your brain, you've supercharged your career. Now comes the final and most crucial step, protecting that foundation and using it to think long-term. This is the trap. This is where so many people stumble. They hit that $20,000 mark and they think, yes, I've earned a reward, and they go out and buy a car or take a massive vacation. You have to reframe your thinking here. That $20,000 isn't a prize to be spent, it's the seed that you need to plant for your future. Let's make this crystal clear with an example. Say you've got 30 grand. You could buy a nice new car, or you could invest it. The sticker price is exactly the same, but what's the real cost over time? This is all about understanding opportunity cost. Well, here's how that plays out over 20 years. That shiny new car? In 2 decades, it's a depreciated hunk of metal worth next to nothing. But that same $30,000, if you had invested it instead, it could have grown to over $200,000. So the car didn't really cost you $30K, it cost you a future $200K. That's not a sacrifice, that's a strategic choice. And really, that's what this all boils down to. Building that first $20,000 foundation is about making a fundamental shift in your life. You stop just reacting to whatever financial curveballs life throws at you, and you start actively, intentionally designing the life you actually want to live. So the real question isn't whether you can become a millionaire overnight. It's about whether you can start building that foundation today. Every single dollar you save gets that boulder one push closer to the top of the hill. And trust me, your future self is counting on you. So what's your next step going to be?